Good morning and welcome to Frank's School. This is 2014. I'm on vacation actually. Until the 12 days of Christmas are over, I think of myself as on vacation. But in spite of that, I want to give you a video where I go back to this fireplace that I'm building down in the barn on the cheap and the chimney. It was December 3rd was the last video that I made about that, and I'm going to put several videos together after this, other shots, so that you can see what happened when I built a fire in it. There are problems, but remember, I'm building this so cheaply. The chimney that I used has maybe $20 in it. I just used blocks that I had around here and three barrels, and the fireplace itself, which is huge. I might have $300 in it, or that's what it might cost. Well, fire brick would make it more. I've built two chimneys, fireplaces before, and neither one of them smoked. I built them pretty much according to code, and code is a whole other matter. What I'm doing now is so experimental. That reminds me, maybe I'll find the link before I put this online. When Shirley and I were traveling in Portugal, we stayed in a palace at one point. It was remarkable because it was the cheapest place to stay. And I filmed a fireplace in there that had no smoke shelf, and it was the fireplace of a palace. If I can probably find that. I'll see if I can give you that link in the description, how to find it. All right, with what I'm doing, I'm experimenting with a flue that's this big around. I mean, as big as a barrel. Usually a flue for a fireplace might be maybe about like that. This is huge. It's very long. I'm going to show you a plan I have for a flue that's coming from 30 feet away. Very long, and I'm going with large. For wood stoves, flues are usually about like that. And a sloping flue too, experimental, as I say. These are not hot. They're never going to be really hot. And the hotter your flue gases are, the more they draw. So it's tricky what I'm trying to do to make it work. And it drew, but it was still smoky. I had some issues, as you'll see. Now, I've just got sheet metal laying places where I'm going to make it tight. When I know it's right, I'll use blocks and maybe mortar or joint compound, maybe just to seal it. I haven't sealed it. That's okay for me in a way, because I want to see if it wants to smoke, if there's not enough draw. I don't want it because it's tight, therefore it doesn't smoke. I want the chimney to draw even if it's not tight. So I'm experimenting. Now, I was working with willow. The wood I was burning was willow. That's terrible firewood. And it wasn't even split. It was cold. It was damp. It was dry, I mean, in terms of age, seasoned. But it was cold, and it was damp. And that was, so it made a lot of smoke compared to the heat that it generated. One of the things I have to do is get the whole fireplace warm enough, and for it to really work right. So you'll see. I may try pallets. I've got a lot of wood pallets, and I don't think an entire pallet will fit in that fireplace, but a half of a pallet probably will. And I think I'm also going to try it with the wind. I chose a day when it was cold, but there was no wind. Sometimes a wind actually will improve draw. But in the case of that barn, the barn is so drafty, I think it won't. I don't know. And then finally, I can choke that opening down. That opening is about that high and about that wide. And I can use sheet metal, sheet metal I'll probably use, to choke it down. Because the bigger your opening is at the front of the fireplace, the bigger your flue needs to be. And one other thing I should tell you is that the throat, which is the narrow part where the fire goes through, I took everything down enough to widen that throat. It was clear to me that the throat was not wide enough for that size of a fire. Well, anyway, I'm going to put this on, and then I'll put those videos, and send me a comment if you want. It's a work in progress. So see you next time. I'll give you a little closer look at the fireplace this afternoon. I'll build a fire, but at the moment there's no wind, and so well, and today there probably won't be very much wind, so I shouldn't have too much trouble with it drawing. We're going to go outside. And some of this stuff, it's like I have no pride to be showing you this, but so be it. I had to build this is some pretty ugly stonework that I did, but I had to lay that stone up in order to support that buttress right there. It couldn't be hanging out in the air. And this is the makeshift chimney. I might have $20 in that, maybe not. I don't have any money in it really. It's 3 barrels standing. I cut the tops and bottoms out of the barrels, and I'll do this in 2 shots, I guess, because I'm going to take the lid off the one barrel and let you see down inside. But let me talk about these buttresses. I actually want to have flying buttresses. They're called maybe. If this doesn't work, if that's not high enough, well, I've got 2 more barrels I could put on there, but I also think I'll just sleeve it with some roofing that I have. In other words, wrap the roofing around it and bind it. That's why these rings are here. Now, the buttresses. I said flying buttresses. Well, this is a rather specialized block. I bought 4 of them. There's one over there. And that's so that the bottom of a brace can go against it and then go up against the chimney in 4 sides. Flying buttresses in cathedrals are usually arches, stone arches, but the principle's the same. And here, maybe I should show you over on this side, because part of my plan is to bring another flue, which comes from all the way down past the barn, underneath these benches where I'm going to grow plants, I hope, and run the flue in the ground to here, make a turn inside a barrel, and go over, and then go into this flue. So I couldn't have the buttresses. I needed to leave enough room to be able to go into the barrel. So what I did was I stood a 4-inch block on edge. Then I put a 6-inch block there, and by doing that, that gives me enough room that I can cut that, and I can have that flue go in there, I believe. That's what I did on the other side, and this was pretty tricky because it's going uphill, and it's basically semicircular when it comes out of the barn. I'll have to put some insulation in there to make it draw better. But then by the time it goes into the barrel, the barrel is narrower, so it tapers inward, and it goes to what might be called a catenary arch or a pointed arch. I'll take the barrel off and show you what it looks like down inside. Okay, now looking down inside, those 2 blocks I put there just to hold the sheet metal apart, and there's about 2 inches of water in there that froze, and that works out. I mean, it makes it really heavy. It's good that I didn't cut it all the way to the bottom. I used 2 pieces of sheet metal. That way they overlap. That would be so complicated to try to figure that out and cut. And what I did against the wall was I scribed it. I made it approximate, and then I scribed it. And here I could scribe it. When I'm ready, I could scribe it if I wanted to, but I just decided to leave it like it is. And when I cut these, I didn't cut clear out to the edge because I wanted to be able to set something on there to stop the wind from just blowing down it, to be able to put a lid on it. There's the lid that I had on there. When I threw it down, the ice on it broke. All right, as I say, I have very little pride, or I wouldn't be showing you this, but I'm going to put everything back together and then this afternoon build a fire. Well, it still smokes a little. Until I until I actually use mortar probably and make everything tight, it may do that. But then too, it has to get warm. The stack is not warm yet. The temperature of the stack makes a big difference about the draw. It's definitely leaking some smoke. Oh, I'm not sure if I showed you too. I changed the back of this, so the cook stove from there through this will go into there, and that little water heater will go into there. See the smoke coming out? Now it's not tight. I mean, there's a half-inch gap right there where. But I wanted to see if the chimney would draw enough to overcome that, but it doesn't. It depends a little too on the wood that I'm burning. I'm trying to burn willow. With kindling, it burns real clean and hot. Well, the fire certainly throws heat. That's a bit of a problem for me because well, not a problem, but I don't want to build too high a fire because where the fire brick stops, and that's just concrete blocks, I don't want to let those blocks get too hot. And I wanted to say too, in case you don't know, that if you ever try to build a fireplace out of stone, you want to make sure that you don't use limestone. Because when that stuff, if you had a big piece of limestone back there, when it gets hot enough, it explodes. So I don't think a concrete block could do that. It'd just fall apart. But I'm not sure if you can see that smoke. Maybe. But the smoke's absolutely going out. I mean, it's just leaking some. And the barrels are now beginning to get not ice cold, but they're slightly warm to the touch. Of course, the warmer that the stack temperature is, the better draw you get. I don't know how much the smoking down there is a result of it all having to warm up. I'm sure a lot of it. Ideally, you'd have a fire all the time, and so it would always be warm. Nah, just you can hardly even feel any heat there.